Coming up next on Not the 9 to 5 podcast.
Absolutely phenomenal. So like getting that mentor kind of changed everything. But it's scary as hell doing that.
Because of the rejection. That is immediate, right?
Yeah. Total fear of rejection. Driving home and I literally just broke down at a set of traffic lights. Like I was bawling my eyes out. Here's a random dude on the internet that liked our show. Yes.
No way. Get in there. Don't give me that. Do you know what? It's too early.
If you're trying to run a business, you need to learn how to do it. He went to give me a promotion and I gave him my resignation.
Welcome to Not the 9 to 5,
The podcast for freelancers
by freelancers.
Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out,
Join us as we share insights, tips and stories
to help you thrive in the world of independent work.
I'm Kat.
And I'm Francesca.
We are two freelancers exploring the highs, lows
And everything in between. So grab your coffee, kick back,
and let's dive into another episode of Not the 9 to 5.
Katheryn Siggers.
Francesca Marago.
How are we?
I'm very well. I'm very well on this grey day.
I know it's a very early morning today,
It
early start.
is.
But that's because we've got a special guest with us today
We have.
from Australia.
all the way from the other side of the world.
Yeah, across the pond, as they say. We've got Ryan Fowler with us. So Ryan created Orient Media Group, a video creation company which supports businesses in using video to benefit clients and scale their businesses. Creative entrepreneur and freelancer, he created his company 10 years ago. He has faced many ups and downs along the way, which he shares on his YouTube channel, and he's going to share with us today.
Amazing. Welcome,
There you go.
Ryan.
Welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. So tell us, where did it kind of all start?
Where it started was miserable in a job. I think that's probably where a lot of us started. So when I finished, I'm taking us back a little bit here, but when I finished high school, I basically just bummed around for 6 months and thought, okay, I'm finally going to get my act together. And I decided that I thought, okay, I want to be a millionaire by 30. So I'm going to go and get a real estate license and just start selling real estate and property and stuff. And that was great, except I hated it. So I was there for 18 months. And when it got to that 18-month mark, I knew there was this one kind of turning point. And it was when I knew my boss was coming back from a holiday and I was actually about to get a promotion, but I didn't want it.
No.
And I was miserable. So the day before he came back, I was driving home and I literally just broke down at a set of traffic lights. Like I was bawling my eyes out. And that's not like me. I'm a very like open, fun, jovial kind of person. And then when I got back, I'm like, okay, I know that I can't do this anymore, but I don't know what else I'm going to do. So at that point, photography was a hobby. And I'd always kind of had this little bit of a creative bone and that sort of thing in my life. So as I was, kind of thinking of this hobby and what else could I do? And both parents being business owners and entrepreneurs, I thought, okay, you know what? Stuff it. I'm going to leave. The next day in the meeting, I gave, he went to give me a promotion and I gave him my resignation. Both of us were probably a bit thrown out by everything that was going on, but that was when I just kind of knew. I'm like, okay, I'm going to leave. Don't fully know what it is yet, but I'm going to do something. That was when I started doing social media for businesses. So I actually started out as like a social media manager, not something that I do now at all. But then kind of the photography just kind of kept evolving from there. So when I would go and, work with a client, that would then be, doing a few photos and sort of shooting different bits and pieces. I'm like, hang on, I actually really like this photography side of it. I don't like the social media bit. It's the photography bit that I like. So I kind of phased out the social media part and just focused on the photography. And well, that was 10 years ago now. And I just haven't looked back since.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wonderful.
That's so cool.
And what was it about the photography that you liked so much?
I just love being creative. Like, it's this thing where it's a feeling that you know it, and I'm kind of talking to the converted here, but it's this feeling of like you just get to go out and create something that wasn't there before. And a camera was kind of my tool to be able to do that. And that was where, you know, the real kind of passion and everything for it came from.
Wow. So what's involved then in Orion Media Group then? So how does that work? What do you offer in that company?
Sure. So as part of that, like I've built it over time, and the kind of everything that came after starting the business was an evolution, not a revolution, which I think you actually mentioned in one of your season episodes.
Good.
Really resonates.
See, someone's been listening.
Love that. Yeah.
Yes, I'm one of the Australian listeners that because I think there was someone else in Australia that you mentioned in one of the episodes. So at least I know there's two of us and we're listening. I promise.
It's my brother who lives in Brisbane.
Yeah.
So
hey, that's fine. It's still an Australian listener, right?
That's it.
So that kind of evolved into like video production and podcasting and all sorts of stuff. But the biggest thing as I was building that is like I focused so much on the creative side in the beginning, and for probably the first like 6 years or so, it was like really creative focused. And then I ended up realizing that the one thing I didn't really know much about was business. So going from like a freelancer to a business owner was just this whole transition, and it's kind of the main big thing that I had to learn, and something I feel like a lot of creatives and freelancers don't fully understand.
Definitely. I've been in that boat for sure.
Yeah. I think a lot of freelancers, a lot of creatives just like want to do the creative and they forget about the money making side, and then it just gets a bit, it's like you're not really making a business, but you're doing what you love at the same time, but you kind of need to live.
Scaling That's it.
Yeah, you're always like stuck at that one man band kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it kind of gets old after a while.
Yeah.
You know, the tiring kind of slog of going through it all. It's something that can change, but most people don't really learn how to do it. I found.
So how did you learn then?
So I was really kind of fortunate that before moving back to Australia, I actually grew up in the UK in Kent, so not too far from where you probably are now.
I live in Kent. Well, we're in Ealing right now, but I live in Kent.
That's
what part of
crazy.
Kent were you living in?
So I was in Ashford.
Oh my God.
Just up the road from me.
It's not too far from me.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy.
Yeah, so grew up there, and one of the coolest things that I remember doing anyway, I'll probably forget all the bad parts, but I remember the good parts, was when I was growing up. I think I was like 8 or something. You know all the blackberries that grow along the side of the road? Along like Roman Way and stuff. This is getting very specific. I'm well aware. But there's so many like blackberries that just grow on the side of the road and stuff. And so what I would do is when they were growing in, I think it was summer, I'd go and like pick them all, wash them, bag them, and then just like go knock on doors and sell them.
Cool.
One of the, that was like my first kind of business experience. And one year I remember I just like recruited all of my friends in the street, and we all just went and picked it, knocked on doors, and just spent all the money on Lego and Hot Wheel cars. So great saving habits, clearly formed. But like that was kind of the first thing, and it's always just been this interest that I've had since then. But when I kind of fully stepped into it, I started reading a lot, and like behind me on that side anyway, there's like a whole library of books and stuff for the people listening on audio. You obviously can't see that, but the reading part of it just learned so much. And then fortunately, I was in a spot where yes, both my parents had businesses and were entrepreneurs and did their thing, but I also had kind of external mentors as well, and a really good friend who's a business coach. So he's basically supported and nurtured me the whole time, which has been absolutely phenomenal. So like getting that mentor kind of changed everything for me.
Yeah. Would you urge people to get mentors in the freelance world?
Oh, absolutely. Like in the creative side of stuff, it's great to have mentors because you can be a better creative. But in the business side of things, like if you're trying to run a business, you need to learn how to do it.
Mm.
And finding a mentor, someone that's done it before or been there, or shares experience, or someone who you just know has some of that experience that they'll happily impart to you, has just been like phenomenally life-changing, because it's taught so much that you can't really pick up unless you either learn it the hard way or experience it through mentorship and with somebody else.
Like, is there any, I guess it's easy to say like find a mentor, but where can people find mentors? I mean, I guess people start with their inner circle of people that they know, I suppose, and then branch out. But is there any sort of sites out there, or any places you've used to try and find someone to help you when you've started?
Yeah, so in terms of finding a mentor, one of the big things is actually just reaching out to people. Like, it can start with your inner circle. If there's somebody around you that can help, that's great. But if there's not, and you're kind of listening and going, oh, I feel like really isolated right now, I don't really know anyone that's been there and done that, then there's not necessarily kind of like a website or something you can go to find someone. But what I kind of have done before, and I've recommended to other people that's worked well, is they've just literally found someone that has kind of been there, done it, and they can see some of the journey and what they've experienced, and then just reached out to them with a question. Like, the thing I found, and I'm sure both of you've probably done this as well, is someone will reach out to you, and if they ask a question, usually you're happy to kind of support and answer when it's coming from a place of like genuine curiosity.
Yeah.
And sorry. And that's where I feel like you can build a relationship with somebody. And if that's kind of a bit further out of reach, then looking at, actually hiring a business coach, even if they're sort of a once a month thing that can just support you in, building a strategy or directing you in the right way, or just joining a group mentoring program. Like, there's heaps out there that are super affordable. But the business skills have just been so valuable to pick up and learn.
Yeah,
that's important, definitely.
And do you think, like, in your freelance career, I guess going back to where it all started, did you ever struggle in establishing yourself? Did you ever encounter any difficulties going through the journey?
Yeah, I feel like this is one of those questions where like a yes is kind of given. And I know that, listening to some of the past episodes, that both of you have gone through your own establishment kind of hiccups and different things. So in actually establishing myself, because I left a job where I had nothing to do with the creative industry, I was like, okay, what do I need to do here to just try and reach out to, anybody that will listen at this point? And when I really kind of looked at what I was trying to do, it was like posting on social media, reached out to friends and family connections, and it's like, okay, do you need anything photographed? Like, anything at all? I really don't care. I'm just going to go and like put my name out there in some way, get, photo shoots from them, or go and do a free shoot for 7 different types of industries just to build a portfolio, and then just start sharing it. And like, I went to a lot of networking events as well. That was a great way to meet people. They're not expensive to go to, but like, if you want to meet business people, go to the places where business people actually hang out, because they're the potential clients for you. When you're working in the photography, videography space, social media is great, but actually shaking somebody's hand and having a conversation with them to get to know you, I found fast-tracked a lot of the progress that I made. And then the other thing, this one's quite marketing-y, if you like. But one of the things I did was I wanted to kind of get into the real estate photography side of it, because I thought, one, it was super easy, and two, it paid pretty well because I'd seen lots of other photographers do it. And I actually printed out a portfolio of like 6 images. I made 20 of these different like portfolio pack thing. And I just went and knocked on every door. I don't think I'd ever seen another photographer actually do that. Like at the real estate agency, we'd get probably 10 emails a month from, new photographers starting up going, oh, here, have a look at my portfolio. They would just like go in the bin because, we had our photographers and we had a relationship with someone. But I found that when I actually went and knocked on a door and said, hi, I'm Ryan, I'm in the photography business. Here's a portfolio. Let's have a conversation and see if I can help you. That got me, like, out of 20 printed portfolios, I think I got about 7 clients out of that, which is like a first big stepping stone in the business and made like a world of difference.
So many people don't do that anymore. Like, I think because of technology and social media and how accessible it is, people have lost the contact with people.
Definitely.
And I guess that's why a lot of younger people now don't like networking events. I know that you said networking events was the great thing for you, and it's a really good thing.
It is a good thing.
But it's because people have lost the connection with others. They just feel awkward being in an event like that. It's like, how do you approach someone? At the same time, you want to be genuine there, but you would also want to showcase your work. So it's like, it's difficult, isn't it? But I love that you did that you went door knocking and showcased you, because I think people should do that and be more bold. But
it's scary as hell doing that.
Because of the rejection. That is immediate, right?
Yeah. Total fear of rejection.
Yeah.
And did you have anyone like that, you kind of, the doors you knocked on that they were like, thanks, we'll take a look, and then nothing happened?
Yeah.
Like, you didn't even
Absolutely.
really get to
Yeah. So the other 13 that I didn't end up doing anything with, they all took the portfolio and then probably just threw it straight in the bin. It was one of the like scariest days to go and do something. Like that knot that you get in your stomach when you're like, oh my God, am I really going to do this? Am I going to make a good impression? Do people like me? I'm just like sitting there and crapping my pants going, should I even knock on the door? I think I sat in the car for like 15 minutes before going into the first one. And then I did the first one, like, oh, hang on. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
So moving on from the struggles then, let's talk about, what do you love about your job? What's the best part for you?
The best part, this standard kind of like business answer is, I love being able to create stuff for people's business. That's not really me. That's a cool outcome, but the coolest part is actually being able to connect with people. Connecting to both of you. That was, I'm pretty sure, like a random LinkedIn message after listening to a few of your episodes.
We saw that and we were like, this is so cool. Yeah. Like, the power of LinkedIn, the power of social media, connecting with people across the world.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh my God, Kat, look, someone's from Australia. That's so cool. And she's like, oh my
Here's
God.
a random dude on the internet that liked our show. Yes.
Yay, getting there. Yeah, but no, it's not.
Yeah, so like the coolest part for me is really that like people connection side of it, and the biggest buzz for me is being able to actually connect with people and seeing them, either go from super nervous on camera to being really confident, or knowing that they've nailed a take, or that they have actually got something that's going to help their business in the long run. It's just kind of that real level of excitement and getting to learn their stories. And I'm in kind of a pretty cool position that I get to interview a lot of people as well. And I know that we're going to be doing something as well, which would be quite cool. Yeah. So just really that people connection is like the ultimate thing for me. And that might sound a bit cliche, but it's kind of that really rewarding feeling that you get when you know that somebody's like lit up and buzzed because you've had a really great connection with them. That's probably the most rewarding part.
I think in this social media age, we are losing that connection. So I think the more, and it's interesting because a lot of our guests have said it's the
same thing.
It's the human connection that I enjoy the most.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, come on, we need to make a change. We need to connect with more people, you know?
I just wanted to go back to the YouTube channel that you have. So how did that all start, and how does that work out for you? And do you meet lots of people through doing your YouTube channel? Tell us a little bit about that. Basically.
Yeah, that's interesting because the YouTube channel started because I had like a really big fear of being on camera.
Oh wow!
If if people go like right back to the beginning of the YouTube channel, the videos are really bad. So just fair warning there if somebody does do that.
But we were gonna say, but
I didn't want to say anything.
Didn't want to say anything. It's just self-acknowledged, self-acknowledged dreadfulness. So the kind of original videos, just I didn't appear on camera. I just did a voiceover because I wanted to do some like Lightroom tutorials and stuff because I saw that Adobe did a like a learning center thing for Lightroom. I thought, I reckon I can do that better. Complete naivety talking. Someone that had never done video compared to, Adobe. But hey, it started the YouTube channel, and that was like 7 or 8 years ago now. And it just kind of like continued to snowball, and it's gone on and off a few times. Consistency was questionable. But as that kind of grew, I really started to like find my groove, and I did all the kind of stock standard things like tutorials and walkthroughs and how I do this and how to do that. And then I ended up building my own Lightroom Learning Center out of it, which actually did really well, which was kind of helpful. And then from there, I kind of took like a really big break for a while. And once I'd done the break, I came back and went, okay, how can I make this like better? Because it was actually monetized at that stage. So when it was monetized, then it was like, great, this is earning an income. I can actually, I could be a YouTuber. That didn't happen. So it is monetized, but I didn't kind of pursue the consistency enough for it. And then it kind of got to a point where I'm like, okay, I just need to stop doing the YouTube side of it and just focus on the business side of it. Like the business side of the business, essentially. So I stopped for a while, and then I came back and produced a couple of episodes of a web series that I wanted to do, not just for any, commercial reason, but just to prove that to myself that I could more than anything. I think they've got like maybe 1,000 or 2,000 views on each video, which in the grand scheme of YouTube is tiny, but that kind of gave me a big confidence boost.
And what was the web series on?
So the web series was called Top 5 Photo Locations. Very catchy title, I know. But it's basically like a photographer's guide to a certain place. So the first episode was on the Gold Coast, Australia, because that's close to where I live, literally like 20 minutes up the road. And Kat, that's probably something that you're recently
am familiar with the Gold Coast.
Familiar with?
Yes, I am.
I would say
sunburn on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm only familiar with it from Married at First Sight, Australia.
See, I've actually been there, Francesca.
So I've seen it from the distance, but you've been there.
I've literally been there, like a couple of months ago.
I love that.
You're welcome.
I need to go. Anyway,
just to rub it in a bit.
Yeah.
So the first episode was the Gold Coast, and it showcased 5 areas that I knew really, really well. And I did it like a real travel show with a few little tutorial bits and pieces done in there. And it worked really well. So I decided to do a second episode, which was Brisbane. So for people that aren't familiar, the Gold Coast and Brisbane are like an hour's drive apart. So really big travel gap in there for some, but very small for an Australian. And that one was really cool because I worked with Tangalooma Island Resort on that, and they kind of sponsored a segment of it. So
how did that
we
come
got
about?
to go. I sent them an email. I said, hey, look, I've got this show that I want to produce. I'm doing an episode in Brisbane. I sent them the link to the first one. They said, we love it. It's fantastic. I said, look, I've got 3 days, up here at the resort. Can we, can I get permission and can we do a couple of sort of collabs in here and get some stuff done? And they came back and said, yeah, absolutely. Here's what we're going to offer you. And it's like a helicopter with the doors off for half an hour over the wrecks and quad biking and sand dune and the big sand sliding things. And it was awesome. So literally filmed the whole thing.
That's so
And then
cool.
they ended up sponsoring you because of that. What, for the exposure on your YouTube channel?
Yeah, so they wanted to, they could see the potential reach with an audience of photographers, because one of the cool things now, especially in social media land, is photographers who become micro influencers. And if you mobilize enough of them, you get audiences of hundreds of thousands or millions. So when they see the potential for, kind of mobilizing that micro influencers side of photography, then they're just like, yeah, absolutely, you go for it. This is great. And considering it didn't really cost them much, because I didn't exactly have a million subscribers or something. It's I sit at about 5,000 subscribers, so it's not a huge cost to them, but the reward was well worth it, considering I know that at least 25 people have seen the episode, booked all of the experiences and gone and done them, which was worth thousands of dollars.
Oh, wow.
And how did that make you feel then? Having this collaboration with this resort, this company, and you achieving something from it. Did you feel, how did you feel?
Oh, it was so cool. Because I went with my partner and she did some of the filming for me, because I was going as kind of like a one-man crew. So she came and did the filming for me. So any shots of me, that's her with the second camera holding it, hanging out of a helicopter. It was such a cool feeling, just knowing that some kind of concept that I've created is actually of value to another company or a tourism destination in this case, because it was kind of like one of those proof of concept moments where I'm like, okay, this will actually work. This is really cool.
Wow. And what's the best place that you've photographed or filmed?
Ooh, that's a hard question. So I've pre-COVID, I was working primarily in the travel and tourism industry as a traveling freelance photographer. And because I've been doing this a decade, I've done a lot of different things. And I think it was 2018, I got to go to, so I did the UK for a month in 2018. And then I did Abu Dhabi and Dubai for a week. That was really cool. The Burj Khalifa is phenomenal. One of the coolest places, which in weather-wise is not cool, was Uluru in the middle of Australia. That is a phenomenally cool place to go and visit and see the giant rock that's in the middle of the desert. And one thing that I actually learned, which is a completely random fun fact, is Uluru didn't actually rise from the desert. The rest of the desert sank around it because it used to be an ocean. There's still coral and stuff in the desert, which is mind-blowing to me, considering it's thousands of kilometers away from the coast.
That is crazy. Yeah. What a fun fact.
There you go.
Genuine.
Yeah, so that was cool.
Genuine. So what, you obviously are multi-skilled. What's your favorite kind of freelance job?
Oh, my favorite would have to be, this is going to sound very counterintuitive, but probably podcasting. Having done heaps of really cool things, podcasting and actually getting to interview people and get to the depth of their stories, I feel like that's one thing that absolutely stands out for me, because there's just so many amazing people and really cool stories in the world that most people don't get to hear. So it kind of gives access into a completely different world that, you don't really get to experience any other way.
Yeah. That's kind of why we love it as well.
Yeah.
It's bringing to the forefront people's stories and sharing their valuable stories and
giving
advice.
them a platform to do that. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So we hope that we help and inspire other people, and give people the platform. So
definitely.
This is the part we love to do anyway the most, is connect with people and like get to know them.
The rest is just necessary.
All
the socials, all the
all the socials and all the other bits and pieces. So can I just flip this on you for a second? Because I don't think you've really been asked many questions on here. But I want to ask the questions, like, out of all of the stories and everything you've heard, how has that kind of impacted you as a freelancer and kind of applied to your journey going forward?
Oh my gosh. I think so many different ways. I think every time we talk to a guest, I get inspired again. Like, I really feel like yesterday we did like 6 interviews, and at the end of the day, although I was knackered, I was so inspired to keep going as a freelancer, because everyone's story is so unique, but they all have like the same passion for what they do and what they love, and it kind of inspired me again. So I think for me, and also, like, I always find something of value that they talk about, and I go, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. I'm going to take that and I'm going to use that in my own business. Like, we had someone on the other day, I can't remember who said it, but they were like, like, you've got to think about being your own boss, but like, how would you want to be treated if you had a boss? Treat yourself like that. And that's been really valuable for me, because I don't think I do treat myself as a boss that I would want to work for. I'm probably a bit too harsh on myself at times, and work myself to the ground.
Terrible person.
I work myself to the ground. So it's like, I mean, I think, I've taken that going forward. So it's bits of valuable advice like that I have found really, really helpful, inspiring, insightful. I think that's, for me, that's what it is. What about you, Francesca?
I would say that it's nice to know that other freelancers feel the same as you when doubt starts to kick in, or like they've all said, it looks like everything's on an upward trajectory in terms of career, but actually it's been a big wave, and it goes up and down, up and down, up and down. And everyone has said that, and I'm like, there are points in my career that I'm like, why am I doing this? Do people even value what I do? Like, is this the right work for me? And blah 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 blah. And they all said the same thing. So it was quite nice to know that other people are feeling in this way, and it's a common thing. But also learning their skills and their tips on how they manage, I guess, their careers generally. Because, like, look, as creatives, we don't naturally come with like mathematical mindsets necessarily. I mean, I hate maths, but the irony is I do producing and location management, which means I have to do budgets all the time. And I hate it, and I'm like, what is this irony? It's quite nice to know that people are like, right, we kind of need to just learn another skill, learn how to budget, learn how to do the taxes, but also do the creative. So the long and short of it is, it's nice to know different skill sets that people shared, but also know about different freelance avenues. Like, we had a matchmaker on yesterday, and we were like, oh my God, like, you never meet matchmakers. The only one I know is the Millionaire Matchmaker in America, but not like anywhere else.
And also, I would never have considered that a freelance job.
No, you'd think that's more office-y sort of.
That's
9 to 5. I guess it could be, but she started her company
as a freelancer. So
does that answer it?
Does that answer?
Yeah, it does. I always love like hearing the sort of side of the story from every other kind of person, because if it really helps to know that, like, we're not alone in it.
That's it.
That
connection that you were talking about, wasn't it? Making those connections makes you realize, oh, actually, we're all in the same boat, and we're all feeling the feelings.
We're feeling the feels.
Feeling the feels.
So I was just going to say, with that, like, there's so much that we can learn from each other as well in it. And one of the things that I pick up in what you've shared both now and in sort of previous episodes has been just kind of the genuine line of curiosity that's come from it. And I feel like the freelance community coming together is really quite interesting in that way, because the actual effort of collaboration when freelancers come together is probably one of the most valuable things that like I've found through my journey, and it's one of those things that where I don't feel like that gets fully replicated in any other type of industry or work, is this whole idea of collaboration. And okay, I want you to do something for me, but what can I do for you, and how can we actually make this work together? And for example, like photographers and videographers, I am primarily the main person in the business, and I do a lot of the work and a lot of the editing and the filming and all that sort of stuff. But I have a whole list of other contractors that I'm like, hey, I don't have the capacity to do this. Can you come in and fill this role for me? And it works kind of both ways. And even though we're technically like competition, that's been one of the most valuable things that I've actually done in the business, because it allows scale. And as a freelancer, the word scale is like, it feels impossible.
Yeah.
It's
good to keep those people close to you and just keep expanding that way, because they always say have a hard shell but a soft heart. Well, that's what one of our podcast interviews said, and it's true. It's like be tough on the outside, but inside be soft and help other people. That's all we want as freelancers.
That's it. And that's what we made this podcast for, really, like just to help other people. And like everyone started somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
We started somewhere.
And that's what you need to remind yourself is how far you've come as well.
That's it. Yeah.
It's like always that forward focus on like the peak of the mountain, but you forget to look back.
Look back and see how far you've come.
Yeah.
Exactly. So in your business, kind of, what have you perhaps tried out that hasn't worked for you and you've kind of had to adapt?
Probably the biggest thing was through COVID. I'm pretty sure it made global news how many lockdowns Melbourne went into for COVID. So fortunately, I wasn't in Melbourne, so that was a good thing. But the rest of Australia did a huge amount of lockdowns. And I think it was just one point in 2021 when, like where I live, I'm right on the border of Queensland and New South Wales. So the Gold Coast is on one side and where I live on the Tweed Coast is the other side. But they're pretty much like conjoined. They're just technically in different states. But during COVID and kind of the first lockdown, the Premier of Queensland actually shut the border and literally just put roadblocks in place and had police at the border on the highway and every entryway past there, checking IDs, if you had a valid like work license, a letter from a client or from your job or someone to actually get across the border, even though we lived in literally the next region. And at that point, the lockdowns happened and I lost pretty much all my business because it was all at that point north. So from there, I'm like, okay, well, what am I going to do now? I've had to, like, I got some clients to just literally give me letters in formal letterheads and everything. I had to print it out, take it to the police officer at the border and say, right, I'm going here for work. Can you let me through now? The first time I did that, I'd been waiting in a queue of traffic to what should have been a 20-minute drive to what ended up being 2.5 hours sitting in traffic. And I got to the border, gave him the letter, and he goes, "This letter's not good enough." What are you talking about? I'm like, I've got everything in the back. I'm meant to be speaking at an event in 20 minutes time. And then I've got a photo shoot straight after it. Like, are you going to let me through? And fortunately, he did. But they pulled me off to the side. I had to sit there for 15 minutes trying to actually talk to this police officer and go, are you going to let me go now? Like, I've got work to do. This is my livelihood. I run a business. Like, what else am I meant to do?
Yeah.
And he said, if you don't have a better permit next time. We're going to turn you around. Like, well,
What more
what
do
am I
they
going to do
what
then?
do they expect?
Yeah, I gave them everything that they wanted, and yeah, it was probably just the cop that I got on the day, but that was like one of the most infuriating moments. So at that point, I'm like, okay, I really have to change something here. And fortunately, I did, because through 2021, 2022, there were like 4 or 5 other lockdowns across New South Wales, and they lasted a month, 6 weeks at a time. So there really wasn't much I could do. So everything had to go from like in-person photography and video production, all that sort of stuff, to online, and try and shift an entire business model online, basically. So ended up doing everything from designing virtual Zoom backgrounds to what else? To setting up podcasts for people, which actually became the primary medium of the business for like 2 years. And it kind of got to a point where the podcast craze kind of picked up as I was sort of just doing it. And then as the lockdown started to lift, it started to fall off, so I could go back to what I was doing before. It was kind of a very fortunate shift, although I still lost like 80% of all my income in that time. So fortunately, the YouTube channel had picked up as well. So that helped a lot, along with like the podcast work and the remote stuff that I was doing. It just forced change. And that was probably the scariest, most stressful part of, or second most stressful part of my life.
Wow.
Blimey.
Yeah.
It changed everyone's lives, that period of time.
Yeah, it really did.
And
it
it
really
like the
did.
forgotten years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
But also, I think in a way it was a terrible thing, but also it helped push people in a different direction at the same time, especially as freelancers. Like we've
had to adapt.
We all adapted, I think. But it's good that we're out of that now, so we can actually meet people and be in connection with people. That's the best thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, forced change is sometimes a good thing, sometimes a bad thing. And it was really interesting because sort of mid to late 2022, or half of Sydney like left Sydney, and they moved everywhere regionally. So all of the like property prices went up, and it was flooded with new people and everyone changing careers and working remotely. So it was really interesting because the last half of 2022, there was a huge influx of new photographers. People would be like, oh yeah, Sydney's too expensive for me now. I'm going to move regionally. I'll start this kind of like hobby, passionate, photography business. And then they lasted for 6 months. Just because they probably found out that their heart wasn't really in it, or didn't know what it would actually take to turn a hobby into a job, or a passion into a business, which I find a lot of freelance, especially in creatives like photographers and hobby photographers, they kind of get into it and go, hang on, I was expecting to just like do all the creative stuff, but I didn't expect to do all the business stuff. And then they kind of lose interest and passion for the creative stuff and feel like they lose that creativity. Is that something that, you've kind of experienced when you transitioned in your own roles?
Yeah, I mean, I love, like, for me, I love the creative stuff as an actor and a voice artist, that I love doing that kind of thing. But I've always, through the film and TV work that I do, I have to be very strict on the admin and the business and be really OCD with everything. So actually for me, it got it got worse as I entered the film industry, because I had to be so on it admin wise. Yeah. So actually it's helped me quite well with the creative as well, knowing, okay, like, well, I'm going to go and do this job now, but I need to make sure I keep my receipts for my taxes for that, for the business side, the same with my production company. So actually for me, I haven't struggled in that way, because I think the film industry really helped me. What about you?
I think for me, I'm not as organised as Francesca. Okay, we all know this. If you listen to the
There's
pod,
always one.
if you listen to it for a while now, you'll know that I'm not as organised. But I always get it done in the end. It always happens. It just happens like right at the last minute.
You know those people who are like, yeah, like I'll file it, but
and then it doesn't happen. And then I have like a few days where I just do all of it. And then it's done.
But everything's on the desktop.
I know the feeling.
And it's just like, Kat, can you just file this, please?
But that's just the way I work. But apart from, I'm like always very organised. Like I've always got my everything in check. And you know, like I'm an online acting and voice coach. And I'm always like, I'm on it. I'm pre-planning. I never... Yeah, I'm very disciplined in that respect. Like I know my Mondays are my planning days for the week. And I get everything sorted and everything ready to go. And the same with like my marketing for LinkedIn and stuff. Like I'll always like pre-schedule my posts. So in that respect, I am quite organised. It's the admin side of it. I let it build up and then I do it all in one go. I have to be in the right mood.
But doesn't it stress you out though?
No, I have to be in the right mood for it. I really do. I'm quite happy doing it when I'm in the mood.
Right.
But I have to be in the mood for it.
And
otherwise,
when does that come round? Like
Totally get it.
End of the tax year.
I'm like, I feel quite admin-y now.
No, I do it daily. Like
I know you do. I know
you
do.
That's it. The receipt's filed straight away.
Well, I have my folders. Like all my receipts are ready.
Folders.
I do. I have my folders.
Okay.
Like physical folders.
Right.
Don't give me that. Do you know what? It's
what?
too early.
I love that I've sparked internal debate between you both.
No, it's like fire between us.
Fire and water.
Fire and water.
I'm calming you down.
No, do it then. Calm me down, please.
Okay, moving on. What's one piece of advice you'd give to someone thinking about going into freelancing?
I think this one's probably going to be pretty obvious, but learn the business side of it and actually learn what people, are wanting to buy from you. And kind of two things here. One is sales and one is marketing. Both are probably petrifying words to many creatives and freelancers alike, because sales is probably if you want to get any work, you've got to do sales at some point. And if you can at least learn the basic part of it, then it makes everything else just flow so much easier. Like there's a book sort of on the shelf behind me over here called Spin Selling, which it's an older book, but honestly, that was probably the best book I've ever read on improving my sales skills. And it's a super easy read and really easy to implement. The other side of it is like marketing, and I've actually heard you speak about this on the podcast with other people, especially in season 2, where you're talking about like, oh, where do you get, your jobs from and all that sort of stuff. There's so many freelancer sites and, opportunities to work and networking and people you meet and referrals and so many ways that you get leads and also all that sort of stuff into the business. That the one thing that I feel like I really want to add to this part of the conversation is to actually track where your work comes from. And, just use a spreadsheet or something like Notion, or, there's a really great program for freelancers called Studio Ninja, and it's literally got lead tracking in it.
Right.
But that was one of the biggest shifts for my business and marketing side of it, because I actually knew where the leads were coming from. So I just focused on doing more of that, and it improved the business massively.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we've heard that a few times. It's like, go with what is like working for you. Yeah. Amazing.
Okay.
Shall we go on to a game?
Yeah, let's do it. We love a game. Would you rather live on a peaceful tropical island or a bustling big city?
Peaceful tropical island.
Would you rather
cities I can do for 3 days? That's it. I'm done.
Oh.
Really? Oh, I love city.
Would you rather have to start a new job every year until you retire, or have only one job for your entire career?
New job every year. I feel like I'd get really bored.
Yeah. Would you rather spend your money traveling the world but have few personal possessions, or have a really amazing house but never leave your hometown?
Travel the world. Absolutely travel the world.
Yeah.
Would you rather have to wear all black every day for the rest of your life, or have to mix every colour of the rainbow into your outfit every single day?
I think I already wear all black for pretty much every day anyway, so I'm going to go with that one.
Oh my God.
Another win.
Every
another
episode,
win.
you'll find out in season 3. It's just
Yeah.
everyone's wearing black in their
They
future.
are. This is the best
It
colour.
just fits so easily. It doesn't, when you drop food on your shirt, it just doesn't show.
I understand.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, but if you drop ketchup,
The feels.
you'll see it. You'll see the
You
ketchup.
just wipe it off.
Yeah, but
you
you'll
just
still
wipe it
see
off and
the-
it blends in.
Yes, blends in perfectly.
So you guys have experience in this, do you?
Always.
Right.
I'm
100%.
messy eater.
Okay.
Yeah.
Title of this episode is Ketchup. Would you rather be able to talk with animals or speak every language?
Ooh, speak every language. If I'm traveling the world, then I'm going to speak every language.
Ah,
Yeah,
that
clever.
ties in nicely. Would
Yeah.
you rather always be 1 hour late or 1 hour early to everything?
1 hour early. I can't stand being late. There's a couple of people that show up late to a meeting sometimes, and I just set boundaries and don't show up late. So I'm early.
Yeah.
Would you rather be covered neck to toe in tattoos every time I
Every
read
time.
this? Because Kat wrote this so wrong, and I can't.
Excuse me.
You wrote covered head to toe in tattoos.
Okay, neck to toe.
So
Would you
my
rather-
brain goes.
Right,
Okay,
let me
go,
do it.
You do it.
Would you rather be covered neck to toe in tattoos or have one big face tattoo?
Neck to toe. Absolutely neck to toe. I've seen too many people with face tattoos. It's not my thing.
No. Would you rather have to speak in rhyme for the rest of your life or have to speak in riddles for the rest of your life?
Rhymes, because that would be so much more fun.
Yeah.
Would you rather have more time or more money?
Time. Absolutely time.
And would you rather be a freelancer or we say PAYE, which is employed?
Oh, I think we already know the answer to that one. That's 100% a freelancer.
Amazing. So where can we find you? Where can people find you to follow your journey, Ryan?
Sure. So I think just about everywhere is Orion Media Group. I know that is on Instagram and on YouTube. It's Ryan Fowler, Orion Media Group.
Nice.
Great. Well, we'll link it all in the show notes for you anyway.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Brilliant.
So much.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, my pleasure. It's been great fun.
Thanks for listening to
Not the 9 to 5 podcast.
If you liked this episode, we would love for you to subscribe to our channel, where we release weekly podcasts every Monday.
Comment below to let us know who you'd like to see next on our podcast.
Give this video a thumbs up and maybe share it with a freelance friend or two.
Until next week, everyone.
Keep freelancing.